Hi, I'm Aislinn O'Loughlin. I'm the author of this book, Big Bad Me, and I want to talk to you today a little bit about prologues. Now, if you don't know what a prologue is, don't worry. It's a fancy word for a chapter or scene that comes at the start of a movie or a book, and just sort of sets up some background story or background details, characters that maybe we don't meet straight away in the story or ever again, maybe. If you think about horror movies, they often start with two or three um, rebellious teens doing rebellious teen stuff and being horribly murdered. So obviously we don't usually meet them again. Um, a similar thing can happen in prologues, but it introduces something that's relevant to the story, but doesn't necessarily tie into the main story in a way that is directly obvious. I'm going to start now. I'm going to read you a little bit from the prologue of Big Bad Me, and you can see what I mean. So this takes place 15 and a half years ago. There was a smash. Dr. Sinead Wilder had half convinced herself she dreamt it until Katie sat up beside her. Mommy? Well, one bang. Shh, nothing, Katie Pie, go back to sleep. Sinead slid her hand under the pillow, reaching for the... Where was it? Stairs creaked. Sinead tried not to panic. Mommy? What are you doing? Nothing, I'm not. Everything's fine. Go back to sleep. Everything... Sweetheart, go back to sleep, now. All right, maybe Sinead was panicking a little bit. Her fingers curled around the metal, but she didn't have time to feel relieved before the door burst open, and something stumbled in. Sinead didn't wait to find out what. She yanked the gun out, fired, and missed, which is good because it was Robert. Just Robert. He wasn't okay. Madison's gone, he said. The front door's been smashed open, but she's been in the lab. There's bits of mice and blood. Blood? Katie was too, not deaf. Sinead was already up, snatching more darts off the nightstand, so when Katie reached up, she just scooped her up too. It's all right, Katie Pie. It's an adventure. Hey, you want to go for a sleepover with Debbie next door? Katie nodded, which is just as well because she was not coming with them. Sinead wrapped Katie up in one of Brendan's old sweaters and snuggled her close, inhaling her husband's scent all mingled in with their daughter's. Sinead, said Robert, are you okay? Me, said Sinead. Always. Let's go. So that's the first page and a half of the prologue. There's a little bit more. But as you can see, you're meeting characters here. It's exciting straight away. It's intriguing. You want to draw the characters in, the readers in. You want to invite them to find out what's going on. So when you finish the prologue, you want to keep reading and you want to find out, well, how did what I just read tie in with the rest of the story? Now, in this case, that's 15 and a half years ago, and it takes place on a very important night for two of the characters in the story, really. Evie Wilder, for sure, and also Kate, who you met. She's a little bit older there, but that was baby Kate at the start. So you can see that is obviously going to be relevant later on. And we do meet some of the other characters as well. You don't always have to do that, though. So what I want to do before I go is just issue a little writing challenge to you. You have heard the bit of the prologue that I read. And actually, if you want to read a bit more, and you can read the next chapter, which takes place 15 and a half years later, you can go to the Little Island website, find the Big Bad Me page, and you'll find an extract there. That's the first two chapters, so you can read that for free. And you can have a look and see how I tied in the prologue in the first chapter. But before you do that, I want you to go and think about, if you were going to continue the prologue, where would you go from there? What would you do? And then what would you do when you jumped forward 15 and a half years later? How would you tie the prologue and the first story together? How would you make it relevant? How would you pay off the reader for going through the prologue and getting to the first chapter? How would you intrigue them? How would you keep them reading? How would you keep them wanting to know, what is it about this prologue that's relevant to the rest of the story? Aside from it being exciting, how am I going to find out the rest of the information? So think about that and get writing. Happy writing and happy reading. And I hope someday that I'm going to be able to read something that you wrote, because I'm sure it's going to be brilliant.